தேசியத்தின் உரையாடல் பகுதிக்கு உங்களை மீண்டும் வரவேற்கிறோம். டொரண்டோ கல்விச் சபையிலே 2019 ஆண்டிற்கான 12ஆம் ஆண்டிலே கல்வி பயிலும் மாணவர்களிலே 99% அதிகமான புள்ளிகளை பெற்ற மாணவர்களாக 4 சில நாட்களுக்கு முன்னர் கல்விச் சபையினால் அறிவிக்கப்பட்டிருந்தார்கள். அவர்களுக்கான அறிமுக நிகழ்வு ஒன்றும் நடைபெற்றிருந்தது. அந்த 4 ஒருவர் தமிழ் மாணவியான சரண்யா ஜெயகாந்தன். விக்டோரியா பார்க் பாடசாலையைச் சேர்ந்த இவர் 99% அதிகமான புள்ளிகளை பெற்றிருந்தது. தமிழர்கள் மத்தியில் கனடாவில் மாத்திரமல்ல உலகளாவிய ரீதியிலே பெருமை சேர்க்கின்ற ஒரு விடயமாக பேசப்பட்டது. வாடலூ பல்கலைக்கழகத்திலே இவர் பொறியியல் துறையிலே மேற்படிப்பை மேற்கொள்வதற்கான ஆயத்தங்களிலே இருக்கின்ற வேளையிலே சரண்யாவை சந்தித்து பேசுகிறோம். The TDSP recently announced 4 students as achieving at least 99% in their grade 12 academic year. They were recognized at an event. This was a feel-good story for many within the community in Canada, not only in Canada but also worldwide. And one of these top scholars is Saranya Jeyakanthan. She graduated from Victoria Park Collegiate and is heading into studying engineering at University of Waterloo. We take the opportunity to sit down and talk to Saranya. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for sitting down with me.
Thanks for the opportunity.
So tell me about yourself, Saranya. Tell me about your family. Tell me about yourself.
Okay, so I'm a student. I graduated from Victoria Park. My parents are from Karavati, so they grew up there and then they immigrated here in the 90s, and I was born here. I grew up here, and yeah.
Have you always been what we call a nerdy student?
I liked learning ever since I was a kid.
Okay.
So ever since I was really little, like ever since I knew how to read, even before that actually, before I wouldn't let my mom go without reading me a book for bedtime. Like I would not be able to sleep no matter where we went. So she found it kind of annoying at the time, but I think I developed a really good habit of like the love of learning from that. So I would always read, and every summer we'd go to the library and I'd get like piles of books, whether it be fiction or nonfiction. So I like to read and learn in fun ways, but I wasn't always keen on, sitting down and studying.
Okay. What does this mean, this 99% that, everybody was so proudly talking about? What does this mean for Saranya?
I didn't expect it. Like, I did not see it coming. These weren't like the grades that I was getting continuously since I was younger. I was at like near the top of the class, but I didn't think I was, near the top of like Toronto. That was kind of crazy. I just tried my best throughout grade 12, and I just wanted to do the best that I could, and that resulted in 99.
We always talk about that one teacher or that one person who would be an inspiration. I know family is always an inspiration, but outside of the family, who would be that one person that you would look back through the 12 years of education that you would say, you know what, yeah, he or she is the person that was responsible for pushing me to this?
Well, I had definitely teachers who inspired me. My physics teacher, Miss Tori, in grade 12 was the best. She was so passionate about physics, and she spread that passion, and I really enjoyed her class. She even helped us, like, when I would go ask her for advice or, like, with references or getting a job, things like that, she would give us advice about that. She was really caring. I loved her, and there was a couple other teachers like that I had. My parents were also a huge inspiration for me. Outside of, my circle of people that I interact with daily, I also found some people on the internet that I found really inspiring. So one of those people was Avery Bang. She's a civil engineer. She graduated from doing civil engineering, and she did an MBA and I believe a master's as well. She is the president and CEO of a company called Bridges to Prosperity. So that company is in charge of, they go to rural communities, remote communities, and they improve their access to other places. They improve their infrastructure. They improve a lot of the structures that can help them improve their lives and
build new roads and all sort of thing. Yeah.
So I was really inspired by that because, you know, there's always politicians like saying, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to, you know, build this here and help these people. But in the end, everything gets dragged out and, you know, nothing really happens. So I thought...
A lot of red tapes gets thrown around.
Yeah. So I thought, you know, the fact that she was like, especially she started in university. Like, I thought that was so inspiring as a student. She put herself out there and she like wanted to make a change. So I wanted to do that as well. And I remember it was around grade 10, 11 when I heard about that. And I was so inspired. I read everything about her and I was like, I'm going to join this organization. And yeah, I still plan on, you know, helping out.
You talk about university. Obviously, you know, going into university is a different ball game from high school. What are you expecting? What are your expectations? What are you looking forward to the most?
What I'm looking forward to the most actually is two things. So outside, like the things I'm looking forward to the most aren't exactly the in-class studies, but outside of class, there's these design teams. So I'm really hoping that, you know, when I'm done studying for the day and doing my math homework, I can go and, you know, build you know, miniature or like model bridges or figure out how to solve some of the problems that people face in the real world. So I want to join design teams. And the second thing that I'm most excited for is the co-op, because Waterloo, they have like 4 months study and then 4 months co-op, and it's continuously like that. So a lot of different co-op terms. And I'm really excited to go out there and like, you know, work with different companies in different sectors and see how they all function.
When you talk about studying in school, what was the biggest hurdle that you had to get through? As a child of an immigrant family, what was the hurdles that you look back right now and say, oh, you know what, that was a hurdle that I had to get through? What would you categorize them as?
I think the biggest hurdle personally for me was about like my mental like attitude. So I think mindset was everything. And there was times where I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'm not good at physics, maybe math isn't for me, you know. There were times where I kind of just started to put myself down and think, okay, maybe this isn't working out. And I had to, you know, overcome that and kind of tell myself, okay, even though you're not good at it now, if you practice, if you try, maybe you can be good in the future. So I just kept trying, and I'm so glad I did, because it ended in great results. And like now I'm going into engineering, which is so heavily based on math and physics, which I thought I sucked at in like, you know, the first few years. So I'm glad.
Are those your strongest subjects, math and physics?
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of in the same grade range, you know, 199 like that. So yeah, they're one of the top marks that I have.
Somebody who's going through high school right now, looking forward to postgraduate education, what would be the one advice that you would want to tell them? Somebody who is in, you know, either going into grade 9 or, you know, going into grade 10 or 11, what would be the one advice that you would want to share with them?
My advice would be to be persistent. Don't give up. If you think you might not be good at something, just give it a chance. Keep trying. And even in like the small things, like say you're doing your math homework and you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I'm kind of struggling, keep trying. Because if you try different ways, if you try different methods, you're gonna get there somehow. And whether it be on a small scale like that or just your overall like mindset about your education, I think you just need to be persistent and not give up.
How many hours would you say you spend doing homework?
It really depends on the day. So I just try and do it as soon as I get home. So yeah, it depends on the day. Some days we don't get as much. I try not to spend like, I know kids who just go all night, they don't sleep and they just study and then they'll drink like 5 coffees after. I'm not one of those kids. I'll study till I think I'm like completely set, and then I'll take a break. You know, like I think sleep and taking breaks is super important for your mental health. So I prioritize that. Yeah, I think it's important to study smart instead of study for too long, you know? So just like prioritize and...
You talked about mental health. That is one of those things that are always being discussed and debated.
Yeah.
What do you think about the status of mental health for people in high school right now? Are there a worrying aspect to it that the general public or the parents or others should know about?
I think there's a lot of pressure in high school. A lot of kids, especially my parents didn't put that much pressure on me. They were kind of like, they just wanted the best for me and me to be happy, which I know all parents want that for their kids, but they just express it in different ways. And some people like push their kids to, you know, do a certain job, a certain career and get a certain mark. My parents weren't like that, but because of that pressure, a lot of kids, or like go to a certain university, but yeah, a lot of kids feel a lot of pressure, and then they like stress so much before tests or before the exam, they'll start, you know, breaking down because they can't cope with all that stress. I think there are some issues, but I think if schools just keep enforcing like programs, wellness programs, and like instructing kids on like coping mechanisms and how they should take breaks and prioritize their health and sleep and things like that, they can overcome it. So it's a work in progress.
Do schools, high schools in the GDSB have those kind of programs available for students? Are students taking advantage of those programs, you know, at least from where you are from?
Okay, so for me, I know that they're starting to definitely take more of a, like take it more seriously at school. They're giving out, like at the parent-teacher interviews, they're even printing out papers about the importance of these things and giving it to the parents so they can understand, like the signs and symptoms of, you know, too much stress. They also started a wellness room at my school, so you can go in and, you know, relax, meditate. Meditation is really helpful, right? So do things like that. But I feel like not enough kids are taking advantage of these things. Like there was only one room like this in our school, right? And out of like what? Like at least 1,000 kids in our high school, most of the time it was empty, which I think says a lot. So I was glad because I could keep going. But yeah, I feel like maybe it's not being promoted enough. I don't know, maybe, I don't know what the issue is, but I think kids aren't taking advantage of these resources all the time.
When you talk about resources, for somebody who is in high school, what resources are we lacking when it comes to students being able to achieve what they needed to be achieved in schools? Are schools equipped enough for a student nowadays?
I think technology is growing, and you can see that in schools. They're using, you know, laptops and iPads and things like that to help kids learn. But I think they're a bit behind. You know, I found that when I did my own research online for resources that could help, like there were certain apps and websites that I used that I thought were really helpful. Like for example, there was like this app, kind of like cue cards, but for like memorizing like French words and things. It would show you the words, and if you get it wrong, it would show you more of the ones you got wrong. Like it would remember those things with using their software, right? So there's really smart software out there, but I feel like schools are still kind of stuck with, you know, we do use like Google Classroom and things like that, but I think they're just a bit behind. They could be doing a bit more to find those resources and bring them to the students.
The technology is being blamed as one of the reasons where students are failing or they're not achieving where they should be. Is technology helping?
Yeah, I think technology really helped me. I think if you're smart about it and you have to be like honest with yourself, because some people were like, oh, it's helping me in school, but then they'll go on Instagram or Facebook or something in class. So I think people just need to be honest with themselves and figure out if they're using it for the, like, not the right reasons at the right time. But I think in class, like Google Classroom was really helpful. Even PowerPoints and stuff, like it's all technology, right? So I think, yeah, schools, I don't think it's a good idea for them to ban, you know, cell phones, but it's definitely one solution for kids using on their like phones all the time, which they definitely do. Yeah, I just feel like technology can be helpful, but kids just need to be more aware of how they're using it.
10 years down the road, if you and I are sitting down in 2029, where do you see yourself?
That's a good question. I actually, because I have a lot of plans. Like I have a plan to
That's
do,
always a good idea.
Yeah. I want to do like, you know, bridges to prosperity and go to rural communities and help out there. But then I also want to, you know, have experience working for, you know, like the government and see what that's like. And then I also the private sector. I also want to go abroad and like work in as many countries. Like I want to do some exchange programs, things like that. So I don't know in 10 years exactly where I'll be. Hopefully, you know, I'm doing something that, you know, causes an impact on the world, a positive impact. That's all that I'm hoping for 10 years, but yeah.
What are you looking forward to the most when it comes to university, beside obviously the maths and the physics? Anything else that excites you or that you're looking forward to come September?
Yeah, outside the classroom, I think that's the things outside of the classroom excite me most because of course I do like maths and physics and things like that, but you know, it's not always applicable. I like doing things that are really practical. I like doing things that, you know I can see how this would be used in the real world, which can't always be seen with like, you know, calculus. But yeah, I'm really excited for design teams. There's a couple like Habitat for Humanity where you design like, it's a competition where you design like
houses for
needs. Yeah. So I want to be in that. There's a design team for that at Waterloo. There's a design team for Steel Bridge. There's so many opportunities that I'm really excited for. I like to, you know, use. So yeah.
When it comes to education, leaving that aside, what do you do on an off day? If you have a couple of days to yourself, what does Saranya do?
So usually I'm with my family. If I'm not with my family, I'm with my friends. And with my family, I'll, you know, me and my sister love watching movies. Like I'm a huge movie fan. I watch a lot of movies. So we'll watch, you know, if it's like a Saturday or Sunday and we have nothing else to do, we'll watch a movie. We also like to cook and bake together. So we like, you know, doing things like that, making cake or whatever. So that's really fun. I also have like small little things. Like I like to do photography. I don't know if I'm that good at it, but I like to try. And, you know, running, jogging, things like that.
Hey, you know what? I'm happy to sit down and talk to you. I mean, you know, a top student in TDSB and a bright future. Congratulations again. Thank you for sitting down with us and good luck. You know, I hope that we do sit down 10 years later and I catch up and see where all these ideas went to and how much of them you were able to achieve. I'm sure you will, you know, reach great height. Thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
இன்றைய நிகழ்ச்சியிலே டொரண்டோ கல்விச்சபையிலே 2019ஆம் ஆண்டிலே 99% அதிகமான புள்ளிகளை பெற்ற 4 மாணவர்களிலே ஒருவராக அடையாளம் காணப்பட்ட தமிழ் மாணவியான சரண்யா ஜெயகாந்தனோடு பேசியிருந்தோம். மீண்டும் இன்னும் ஒரு நிகழ்ச்சியிலே சந்திக்கலாம். வணக்கம்.